You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Well, I know what that is. The one and only Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. Sandy, great music, by the way. It's Friday. That means Friday's my co-host, Sandy Williams. Sandy, the music.
Well, it's about circuses. That if we didn't get far enough into it to understand that Smokey was going to talk about circuses, but my concern is that what we've got going in the White House is something much closer to a circus than what we would all wish or hope for.
You know, Sandy, before we go to the phone lines, and the phones have been jammed since the beginning, so thank you guys for hanging on. Sandy, I was looking at this. Products impacted by tariffs. Leather products, wearing apparel, electric equipment, textiles, mineral products, metal, wood, plastics. Sandy, that's
everything. Everything.
That's everything.
Yeah, and if you looked at the wearing apparel, you can't buy shoes that are fabricated in the United States. You can't buy textiles mostly that are fabricated in the United States, and most of them are fabricated in places where it would be impossible to have a balance of payments trade with them that was equal. For instance, Bangladesh. Lots of textiles are made in Bangladesh. People of Bangladesh don't have money to buy the things that America makes. And it would be crazy to assume that Bangladesh and the United States ought to have a balanced trade balance between them. The other thing about what's going on is Donald Trump is stoking another misconception. He talks about deficits in the trade balance as if it translates into a debt, that somehow the United States is building up debts because they have trade deficits. The concepts are totally unrelated. The deficit in trade that the United States has nothing to do with the federal debt, okay? The deficit in trade we have is a function of millions and millions of decisions made by individuals about what they buy and where that thing is made. And it's that individual that is expending the money that needs to be spent to accomplish the purchase. The only thing that could happen from an imbalance of trade would be potentially a depreciation in the value of the dollar if we had big deficits. But of course, our dollar is very, very strong because it is the world reserve currency.
So, Sandy, before we go to the phone lines, and guys, I promise you I'm coming. And so is Peter Navarro looked at in the arena of intellectuals on economics? Is Peter Navarro at the top of the list?
No, he's pretty much on the same list as Elon Musk had him pegged, which was a moron.
Well,
No, Peter Navarro is a rogue. He's a maverick. He represents a theory that is not held in high regard or high repute. It's good that the economists of the world do not all have a unified position, and of course Peter Navarro's position is far from the consistent view of economists. He's a maverick. Okay.
All right, Charles. Thank you very much for hanging on, man. You want to talk about the tariffs? Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great show. Two points, if I can make them. The first one is on tariffs, and Sandy, you kind of hit it right. Arsonist. He intentionally set the fire to the building. Then he comes in with his water hoses and he puts out the front of the house. He leaves the back of the house burning, which would represent China. Then he comes out and raises his hands and say, "Hey, I'm the hero." And then the sad part is you got these non-news people on Fox saying, "Oh, he's brilliant. He's the deal maker. Look what he did." I heard Geraldo on MSNBC. I had to turn it off. Like Donald Trump, this is exactly what he was planning to do. He's not a deal maker. He's bankrupted all his businesses. And the second point is, I believe that judges that are about the law, teachers that are being affected, businesses that are being affected with all this DEI talk crap, and regular citizens, law firms need to be out in the streets marching and protesting, because this man is definitely out to destroy the company.
Hey, Charles.
I mean, to destroy the
country.
To destroy the country, yes.
Hey, Charles, thank you very much for the call. Let's go to Cam from Appleton. Good morning to you, Cam. You say what?
Hey, guys. Real quick, two things. One is I don't think people quite understand that if chips are impacted at all, those are already pretty high demand. Countries like China are going to pull all of them in and make advancements faster than USA is able to at all, period. Two, I don't bring great pleasure in mentioning this, but the CECOT, the prison in El Salvador, last night I saw some people looking into it a bit, and they're finding that using satellite imagery, if you look at the prison, you can see a section of the prison that is not present whenever any of our U.S. news stations go over there. It's just gone. Like, the sheds are removed, the buildings are removed from that plot of land, but then they're present again when they leave. And you can see bloodstains painted all over the ground. And north of the prison by a mile or a mile and a half, you can see what looks to be an area for them to dump bodies.
Well, Cam, thank you very much for the call. Sandy, we know that it's an inhumane place, right?
Well, in fact, I think Donald Trump champions it as such, essentially. I mean, there's very thinly veiled discussion about the nature of that prison. And now he's talking about how much comfort he would take if he could deport U.S. citizens who are arrested, and he could deport them to such a place. You know, the reason people are being sent to a prison like that there is much the same reason that we had a dark place like Guantanamo, where we could send prisoners and treat them in a manner that wasn't permitted on U.S. soil.
All right, Jim, you're up next from Brookfield.
Good morning, Sandy and Earl.
Good morning.
First of all, Earl, I just want to wish you well tonight with the prom. I hope that everything goes great.
Oh, hey, man, it will.
Very commendable.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to voice my frustration of what apparently, I mean, it's become very obvious. There's two types of standards for presidents. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, even W. Bush, and then there's Donald Trump. I mean, why is it? Just imagine if Barack Obama, had eliminated, or not eliminated, but kicked out Fox News out of the press room like Trump did with AP. Okay, just imagine if Barack Obama was targeting law firms and extorting money from them simply because they, took positions or defended cases that he didn't agree with. Joe Biden lends money to his brother who pays it back, and yet the Republican congressional hearings last 2 years to see if there's any wrongdoing on this and call them the Biden crime family. Why is it that there's like two standards for presidents? You mentioned earlier, Earl, what happens when Trump leaves the office. I'm hoping there's some type of, the pendulum swings back to some sort of accountability for these presidents. But I just am floored by the fact there's two different types of standards for all the other presidents and then Donald Trump. He gets away with everything. And it's not just the Republicans. It's just the American public, I think, the media, whatever. They're just accustomed to Trump being so outrageous. It's like the norm. And that's wrong, and that's got to stop.
Hey, Jim, thank you very much. Sandy, you want to respond to it?
Well, I think what's astounding is that people apparently are willing to concede to Donald Trump the ability to be an authoritarian and to exercise his will because they think he's such a great deal maker, when the facts are that his private business ventures have been ultimate failures, every one of them, and the only deal making he did that seemed to be interesting and dynamic was when he was a TV figure, and it was fictional. You know, the
Yeah.
Apprentice was not reality, and The Apprentice is what in fact built him up to have the reputation of being a great businessman. The guy who was the showrunner for The Apprentice has since apologized to the American people, saying he is so sorry that they selected Donald Trump to be the head of The Apprentice because they built for him a reputation which he did not deserve as a great businessman.
All right. Up next, CJ. CJ, you're up next.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I know I won't get long. I get one shot. You misrepresent so much of what's happening, Sandy. The tax law, if the Trump tax cuts are not extended, this is from the Congressional Budget Office. 22%, the average taxpayer will see a tax hike. 40 million families will have their household's child tax credit cut in half. 91% of all taxpayers will see a guaranteed deduction slashed in half. 26 million small businesses will be hit with a 43% top rate tax increase. Most small businesses file as individuals. 2 million family-owned farms will see the death tax exemption slashed in half. I feel like Paul Harvey because you only tell part of the story.
Well, no,
And
let's just say that if what we wanted to do was preserve all of those things, they could go ahead and preserve all those things, and the cost would be nowhere near $4.5 trillion. The problem is they want to preserve the tax reduction for the wealthy, and that's where the expense is experienced with respect to the cost to the federal budget. The cost of tax revenue lost only comes from people who pay large taxes, okay? And it is true that the wealthy in America pay more of a percentage of the federal tax than the poor do, but of course you can't get blood from a stone. So, yeah, you should go back and analyze that data and say, if we continued all those things that are being broadcast as being lost by Tom, Dick, and Mary and did not preserve the rest of the tax cut, how much would that cost? And that would cost a mere fraction.
All right, 855-752-4842. Guys, hang on. It's Friday. That means Friday's my co-host, Sandy Williams, and you on the Earl Ingram Show.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
with his eyes on fire and his smile so bright. In his hands are the toys you gave to fill his heart with delight. And in a ring stands a circus clown holding up a knife. What you see and what you will hear will last you for the rest of your life.
Great music, Sandy. 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number. Sandy, the music?
The music's about circuses and clowns, and that's apropos to what we're talking about, I guess, today. It's interesting how much music there is that relates to circuses, and most people find joy in it. People are frightened of clowns, however, and I'm afraid we have a clown that we're all getting to be very concerned about.
All right, let's go. Up next is Mike from Kenosha. Mike, you're up next.
Morning, guys. Happy Friday.
Yes, sir.
I have to say this. I got two points very quickly. Number one is looking at the budget that the House passed yesterday, the GOP budget that adds $5 trillion to our nation's debt. You remember, and you were talking about theater, when Barack Obama was attempting to get health care under the Affordable Care Act, you remember the drama that the Jim Jordans and all these Republicans, they're foaming at the mouth saying, there's no way we're going to do this, adding more debt to American people. I think that the debt was somewhere around $20 trillion, a third less than it is now, roughly. And they're foaming at the mouth. There's no way. And to the point where they put all these poison pills in Obamacare in order to make it budget neutral. So here is a perfect example of the carnival act, the circus act of the GOP that we've all witnessed. Again, the Tea Party and all these foaming of the mouth, insanely passionate, no more budget, the Rand Paul drawing the line in the sand, all this stuff. And they passed a bill that added $5 trillion yesterday. So to me, and I would think of all people who are paying attention, this clearly reveals how intellectually dishonest the Tea Party theater, the GOP campaign has been.
We believe
one
in
good
social
thing.
security.
Go ahead.
One other point, and Sandy, this is really for your benefit. If you recall back in the late 30s, we had roughly our economy, I think the debt was 120% of our economy. And what did we end up doing? We fought a war, we created the GI Bill, and then we created the interstate systems. But we did that even though we had 120% of national debt. We did that because we understood that, the progressive type of sales tax and revenue that is shared by most of the world, where the elites, the super wealthy, are going to have to pay a little bit more. That's been the norm. So again, all is not lost, but we must come to the realization that this whole Republican, for the last 2 or 3 generations of Americans, it's all been theater. It's all been a circus. In yesterday's budget that they passed, the Republicans passed, I think is clear evidence.
Hey, Mike, thank you very much for the call. Sandy?
Well, this whole Doge thing has been circus. The claim that we've got billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud. We've got people who are 120 years old, many of them experiencing and getting Social Security or getting unemployment benefits. And all of that is designed to be a smokescreen at the time that they're adopting a budget that's going to involve a great deal of larger deficit, because the American people, I think, are trying to be led to believe that there'll be savings, enormous savings that will offset the kind of deficit that they're talking about adopting in the budget through reduced expenditures, which aren't going to materialize. The only thing that I take comfort from is that the Gilded Age that Donald Trump wants to refer to from 1873 to 1913 was followed by a period of progressive government, and so was the Depression. So that the 20s and a period of conservatism was then followed again by progressivism and people believing in government and the things that government ought to be doing and should be doing well. And maybe people are going to wake up when they see what happens in the current environment with respect to the need for adequate government.
You know, Sandy, Speaker Johnson and the Republicans in the Congress who passed this budget, Speaker Johnson made a promise to them that the cuts are going to come. We didn't do it right now, but I guarantee you we're going to make major cuts down the road. So people need to be aware. They need to understand that he's traded this off, Sandy.
Yeah, what they're doing is putting the cart before the horse. I think that's what that expression was all about. You know, if they want to have tax reductions, they ought to come forward with the cuts first. That's the hard part, right? And let's see whether they actually materialize and what it is they're talking about cutting.
Yes.
You know, that's like giving the dog the treat before the trick. Okay. You know, the dog doesn't do the trick once they've had the treat.
All right. 855-752-4842. Phone lines are open. It's Friday. That means Friday's my co-host Sandy Williams and you. And promise you we're coming right back to the phone lines.
Little man with his heart so pure,
Against
his
the
love so
smooth
fine.
evasion that says,
Stick with me
of course
and
we
I'll
believe
ride with
these
you.
things. We believe
the
in
end
social
of the
security. We believe
Everyone's a winner, bargains galore. That's right, you too can be the proud owner. The quality goes in before the name goes on. 1/10 of a dollar, 1/10 of a dollar. We got service after the sale. How about perfume? We got perfume. How about an engagement ring? Some for the little lady, some for the little lady, some for the little lady. $3, $4. We got a year-end clearance. We got our white sale and a smoke damaged furniture. You can drive it away today. Act now, act now, and receive as our gift. Our gift to you, they come in all colors, one size fits all.
All right, Sandy. Great stuff, man. Welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number, Sandy. Go ahead, man. The music.
Well, that's Tom Waits, and he's doing the call of a sideshow artist calling people in for the fraudulent show, the stuff, promising you the stuff they can't deliver. And I thought that was pretty apropos.
Yeah, it's great music. Let's go to Tom from L.A. Tom, you're up.
Well, I'm not first off, you know what? Actions speak louder than words, and you always show the actions every day. I hope there's a way that somebody can videotape that wonderful prompt.
I'm gonna do it.
So we can all see it.
We're going to do it. I'm absolutely going to do it and make sure it's available on the Civic Media link.
Thank you for that. Second, I'm going to be talking a little longer today, but if you want, I'm not a genius by any means, but if I want to cut waste out of the government, give people who make $3 million or less a tax break and increase taxes back to the Republican Eisenhower rates on people who made over $3 million or adjusted to today's wealth. It was 90%. Republicans are robbing Peter, cutting the essential programs that FDR put into place, like Social Security and unemployment, to pay Paul, the billionaires, in tax breaks. And it's amazing that it would be Paul, the one that was the tax collector that they'd be giving it to. I am glad that Sandy has finally, and Sandy, this is not a snipe at you, so I don't want you to think that, even though it may sound like it.
Actually, usually snipes usually start out with that disclaimer, but go ahead.
I know, but I am so happy that Sandy has finally woken up and looks at the things like people like Brendan and Cam and Charles and Eric and PJ and Ann and Susan and Mike and, of course, Jeannie, my favorite, Ollie, Bill, and Mark, because we have been saying this for over a year. I haven't heard from Gary lately, so I'm thinking that his HVAC money or supplies must be going skyrocket, and maybe he's starting to see the light. We need to start pushing back when people say that Joe Biden's economy was not good. Donald Trump takes things that are working, he breaks them, and then he says that he fixes them, and then he goes on like the Roy Cohn that he is, or the protege of Roy Cohn, and says, oh, am I not wonderful? The one error Democrats make is they don't know how to communicate their bragging of what it is that they've done because they actually care about the American people. And I have one last question for you, Sandy. Why is it that the people who benefited from We the People government paying into the system through paying taxes like Derek Van Oddone and Paul Ryan, et cetera, want to destroy the programs that they actually benefited from as children because they were on SNAP and Social Security because of Paul's dad dying? Why do they want to cut these essential programs that Franklin Delano Roosevelt put into place and the New Deal when they benefited from it? Maybe they just need to pay back everything themselves and let the rest of us continue to run the programs. Like you said, Sandy, in the past 50 years, government has not increased in terms of the number of employees. And what their goal is to say, we're not going to cut Social Security. Trust us. We're not going to cut Medicare. Trust us. We're just going to cut the workers that work for those places, so therefore the programs go belly up.
Okay, Tom.
That's what they're saying. So when they say that, thank you.
We got you, Tom. Thank you very much for the call. Sandy, you want to respond to any of that?
Well, I've not been in disagreement with much of that over the years, but to try and explain why it is that people of wealth are wanting to cut taxes and to cut out programs that are designed to be safety nets for the poor is what I've described as the process of the wealthy trying to kill the golden goose that has made them wealthy. They've grown up in a system with a government the size that it is and a government with the programs of the sort that it has, and it has afforded them the opportunity to develop great wealth. And now when they have this great wealth, they somehow have decided that they don't want to share any of it into the federal revenue pot, and they've demonized the programs that exist as a rationale for trying to retain much more wealth than they can ever consume themselves, and wealth that when it's left to their children will only spoil them. The world has known for a long time that third generation wealth loses all of it based on their incapacity to be motivated in the manner that they could otherwise be if they weren't born with a huge pile of money sitting beneath them.
Jack from Merrimack. Good morning to you, Jack.
Good morning. I got a few things to say about this insanity, but just as one comment about the obscene wealth, I have quite a number of conservative friends as well as a lot of progressive ones. And I always ask my conservative friends when something like this comes up, how much is enough? And the answer, they really never come up with a real answer. The closest to that I hear from them is, well, gee, they earned it all. Well, we know they didn't earn it all. I mean, between not paying taxes and accumulating and then turning that over untaxed income to their next generation and continuing that, that's the way this kind of huge wealth usually is built. But I have a few things to say about the insanity in Washington right now. First, if you wanted to bolster the strength of American enemies like Putin and Xi Jinping and degrade American strength and standings as a democracy in the world, I don't know what more you could do than what they're doing. Trump's been allowed by Congress and the Supreme Court to become literally a dictator, and I don't expect he'll allow anything like a real election in 2026. There's no way the majority of Americans will vote for anything like a continuation of this chaos. And our financial system continues to be degraded to the point where our currency soon is going to stop being the world benchmark, probably replaced by the yuan. Also, the constant pushing of xenophobia is an intentional distraction. It's just designed to continue inciting hate and anger, so people either ignore the real issues like the billionaire giveaways and tax welfare plan that's in the new budget, and blame other countries for the financial degradation of most Americans. The pain, whether it's financial, lack of government services, lack of fulfillment of contracts, apparently random and in some cases illegal deportation. This is intentional. They're saying, look at the harm we can cause with impunity, and we can do it to anybody. So you better not stop our theft of your government and the trillions that it has, because we'll do it to you. This is authoritarianism 101.
You know, Jack, thank you very much, Sandy. We've just had great callers, great insightful thought. Your thoughts on all of this?
Well, absolutely. The last point that was made is absolutely one of the most important points, which is this theater of demonstrating, for instance, how they're taking immigrants away in the dark of night and sending them to El Salvador to a horrible prison. This notion of calling law firms forward to destroy their business if they act in the manner of simply dissenting from the views of Donald Trump is all designed to be chilling theater to repress dissension wherever it might exist and to make everyone afraid. I guarantee you that if I still worked in the law firm, that my law firm would be calling me up right now and telling me I should not be on the air talking like this about Donald Trump because it threatens their entire business environment. He has demonstrated his capacity to stamp on and play whack-a-mole with anyone who has the temerity to speak up against him. It's the most contrary, it's the singular most contrary policy to the First Amendment that I have ever seen in action.
All right, let's go to Lori. Good morning to you, Lori. You say what?
Yeah, when Sandy made that comment about Trump being a clown and that some people are scared of clowns, it just reminded me of Stephen King's It. Maybe we should call him President It. But so CJ, that question that he made, or that comment he made about we have to extend this tax breaks. So from what I understand, with Trump's first term, he made permanent tax breaks for the wealthy, but these ones for us are temporary and ran out this year. So why isn't CJ commenting on that? Why weren't ours permanent? Why was it just for the wealthy? And how can they possibly give the wealthy another $4 trillion tax break when they can't even give us anything? And then the other comment I want to make was, I think it's Charles that calls in. He is so articulate. He's so confident and very intelligent. He should almost have his own show.
Well, Lori, thank you very much. And I think you're a first-time caller, but thank you very much. Sandy, she's asking a question about why do these billionaires need additional tax breaks? Well, why do they need more money?
Well, it's unbelievable to me that the people who have assembled this kind of wealth don't feel an obligation to support the government, which creates the social and economic ecosystem in which they make all this money. And what they're looking at doing is taking away money that they describe as entitlements, which are aimed at people who don't have wealth. Okay, and so Social Security is designed for the people who don't have a big cushion when they retire, so that they can actually exist in retirement. Medicare is aimed at people who are older and couldn't possibly afford the insurance price that an elderly person would have to pay to have insurance coverage for medical care. Medicare is aimed at the people who can't afford medical care at all. And so these are entitlements that the wealthy want to extract from the programs, because to the extent that they want to reduce the budget by any substantial amount whatsoever, they have to attack those parts of the budget as well as the Defense Department budget. And they've already, the president has already announced an intent to increase the expenditures for defense by a number like $165 billion.
You know, Sandy, it is not only nauseating, it should be criminal, because the suffering that is going to take place because of these decisions that they made, Sandy. We know that there's going to be massive suffering of the American people, right? I mean, and that's why
particularly in a recession, when these safety net issues become much more pertinent to a far greater number of people. And so, are they going to attack the safety net? That's an uncertainty. They're continuing to say they aren't, but it's pretty clear that either they are, or they are going to increase the deficit by such an enormous amount that they're going to leave a legacy for our children and grandchildren, which is an exceedingly burdensome and unsustainable kind of a problem.
So if you had, a magic wand or a crystal ball, which one of those two do you think they're going to go pursue? On the other side, Sandy, 855-752-4842. Very great, special show, Sandy. Great show this morning. 855-752-4842. My co-host Sandy Williams and you.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Few minutes to the Earl Ingram Show. Sandy, just great music. Just great music. It's Friday. That means Friday's my co-host, Sandy Williams. Sandy, the music choice.
Well, that happens to be the theme song from Clowns from Outer Space, which apparently is a cult movie. It's a cult I never joined, but it's an interesting song. Killer Clowns is what that's called, and I'm afraid that's what we've got in the White House.
All right. Brendan, you're up.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you're right, Sandy. I'm out here shopping for some clothes, and my goodness, you can't get a pair of sneakers for under $100. It's ridiculous. But the point I want to make is April 15th is coming, folks, and if this clown up there in D.C. the American people need to be shocked. They need to be woken up. So let them put on martial law. Let the American people wake up and see on their televisions reserve troops going against peaceful protesters. This is how the Vietnam War was ended. College students stood up and took batons to the skull, and it was all on national television. So let's stand up. We got to stand up. If we do not, this is just going to get worse. And to the kind young lady who called earlier asking why CJ said something, because he'll never say anything negative about a guy he's in a bromance with. You guys have a great weekend.
Hey, Brendan, thank you very much for the call. Mark from Racine.
Yeah, the term defense spending, that's a euphemism. It's military spending. It's almost really more like offense spending given U.S. history, but I would say at least call it military spending, because saying this defense spending makes people, oh, we do want to defend ourselves, and then we're spending at least half of the federal budget is going to this so-called defense. Anyway, so military spending is my suggestion. Anyway, thank you.
Hey, Mark, you're right about that, man. Thank you very much for the call. Nobody's coming after America. Don, you're up next.
Great show, guys. Boy, I'm really learning something here. Your callers are hitting all the nails right on the heads. Anyhow, I learned something again today. That lady said that Trump tax permanent for they're permanent for the rich, for the wealthy. But Tom, Dick, and Mary, we're getting ripped off. I mean, shouldn't we get? Shouldn't we? What's good for the goose should be good for the gander. That doesn't sound good to me. But anyhow, that's my.
All right, Don. Thank you very much, man. So Sandy, I have to say to you, we've done a lot of different shows. Something very electric and special about this morning show. I mean, music was unbelievable, and it fit just perfectly. But Sandy, the content of the conversation of what is really happening and what is transpiring as we speak. I said before earlier, one of my classmates was on Facebook. I don't do Facebook. I just tell people I don't, but I got this thing that came in, and I happened to look, and she was on saying how great Donald Trump was. She'd vote for him again, and there was thousands of people who were saying, yeah, he's the greatest thing ever, and we're going to support him the next time. And these were people of my generation. And Sandy, all I could do is, man, what don't they see?
Well, to be honest with you, said that in the past, I've always been much more cautious about talking about the economy, the future, being pessimistic. To me, alarm bells have already rung. And I wake up in the morning and I'm both angry and frightened by the turn that the country has taken. And it's not about the policy. It's not about whether we ought to make government more efficient, or the DOGE, that something like a DOGE committee could investigate efficiency and try to improve the efficiency of government. No, that's not the problem. The problem is the process. And the process has obliterated the separation of powers in our government. We have now a person in the presidency who's operating in the most authoritarian ways possible, using all of the powers of the presidency and those that don't even exist, but are contrary to the Constitution, to point the guns of government at individuals who dissent, at businesses who dissent, to destroy and repress dissension and free speech. Is the most frightening thing I've seen, and that is the process that the American public needs to stand up and be very frightened about. We've unleashed a monster. We've opened the bottle. The genie has emerged, and we've got to get it back into the bottle.
I just want to say thank you, Sandy, as always. Thank all of you who made the show go. I'll be able to escape this, and Sandy will as well, for a little while, as we spend some time with some very special people this afternoon at the 22nd annual citywide special ed prom. Thank everybody who made the show go. Thank you, Cardi. I'll be back on Monday. You've been tuned into the Earl Show. Have a great weekend.
More violence is what they want. Viruses and riots, people dying, we won't stay home. Black lives matter, all lives matter. What's all this division for? It's modern sex.
The national news cycle never stops, but but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.